And we're live. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Friendly Ex-Muslim podcast. This is episode 105. 105. So if you want to listen to any of the previous episodes, they're all available on YouTube. And as well, they're also available on your favorite iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, whatever podcast platform you like. So if you want to listen to this long form interviews on a different platform where you can actually just walk or go for a walk or drive around, they're also available for your convenience on those platforms. So today I have a special guest, and there's a lot of people looking forward to this conversation. Someone that I've known for many years but never spoken to on my channel, and that is the one and only Emily the Strange, right? Or Juli Jalaluddin.
Hello, hi.
So today I'm joined by Julie and Maxi. That's Maxi right there. So
Hello.
I think it's going to be a great conversation. And Julie, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome,
Early
awesome. So yeah,
morning.
you haven't done anything like this in a very long time. It's been years, right?
Yeah.
It's been years, and things have been what? How have things been recently? Quiet for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I used to be more outspoken on social media a few years ago, and now I'm kind of quieting down a little bit. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Nice. So we're
Yeah.
gonna we're gonna get back into it. We're gonna go
Yeah.
back
Yeah. Yeah.
to the history and everything. You have an amazing story, a really interesting story, and you've been around a lot longer than me and almost everybody else I know in the ex-Muslim movement.
Oh,
People in
okay.
Malaysia, in particular, know you for your activism. So, can you tell me about just go back to the beginning? Like, how did this get started, and like, what's your story? However much detail you want to put.
You mean like how I live
So, so,
Islam?
so let's talk about like when you were Muslim. What happened? Like, how did you go from being
Ah,
Muslim to
yeah.
having doubts? Like, where did it
That's
start?
that's a good place to start. So anyway, I remember that since I was small, like teenager, or even earlier than that, I've always been kind of like questioning, asking questions about all these things like in religion, like why this, why that, and that is what happened. Was it wasn't like a tragic incident. I was sexually abused at such a young age, so that experience made me kind of I felt like I'm an outsider looking in, so like not really fitting in. So always questioning, like why do women have to wear hijab, for example, or why do we have to like the different roles between men or women, for example. So, but because as most religions are, they tell you like, okay, God knows everything, you don't know everything, or maybe like if you wanna ask somebody, you have to ask the right people. You cannot talk about it, because if you just talk among yourselves, you might risk being a murtad, or your faith might be tainted because if you're questioning too much.
Mm.
So,
And
but
how old
anyway,
were you? How old were you at this time?
um teenager, late
Okay.
late teens, but I was still a believer. I was still a
Mhm.
Muslim, very much a Muslim. um and then I was 18, 19, and I went to study in the US, in Colorado, actually. um and then like I came from a small town. It's a very religious state in Malaysia. So going from that environment, and then to the west, and then started to see uh, how everybody else live, and then being like you always were taught that like, oh, be wary of infidels, or the Jewish people, like they whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with
Yeah.
that. Many people can relate to this. And um and then like you see the way how other people live, people of other religion, like they're so different. Oh, it's not the how we were taught. And one day I met like a Jewish person in my class, and I'm like, wait a second, he's nice, like. So all these things, little by little, got me questioning even more and more, you know. But at that time, this was back in 80s, 90s. Internet was just starting. So, you don't really, and then, yeah, you have the library, but if you don't know where to go look for information, then you don't know what to look for. So anyway, so I have all these questions. I keep it in the back of my head, and I remember one time in college, I was invited to a religious gathering for Baha'i. So I think it was like Baha'i is like a sect of, they think of themselves as Muslim or like
Yeah,
a sect of
yeah,
Muslim. I'm not sure.
it's weird, right?
Yeah, it's kind
Oh,
of
it's a
weird.
new
Like
religion that came that has
Iran,
Islam in it or something. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
know much about it.
yeah. But anyway, I talked to somebody from that faith, I was like, oh, this is nice, but I don't know. I was still a Muslim. So anyway, and then later on we have internet, and by this time it was like early 2000, and then I started getting on YouTube and started listening to Dawkins, Hitchens, and uh, amazing atheists, and who all whatever whatever I could consume, you know, and then I met like a guy who's was like culturally Muslim, but no, he didn't really, and he made me question even more and more, and then eventually in 2005, that's it.
So,
And
cultural Muslim made you doubt Islam?
no, I mean, like in Malaysia, you cannot live Islam. So, so in name, you're like, if I go back to my country, technically I'm still Muslim.
Mm,
So, but whatever you believe or don't believe, how you live your life, that's something else.
okay.
Yeah. So this guy made me question a lot of things. Like one day he said, "Oh, I don't think sex is a sin." I said, "Oh, like got me thinking." And here I was, okay, I wasn't really a good girl or anything, but every time I was doing it, I always have this guilt, but you still did it anyway, but you have this guilt. But he made me question, like, okay, like, sex, everybody have the, you have the desire for it. So why God give us a desire and then make it a sin, like, um, it's got you thinking like, oh, I think like sex is being used by religion to control people, like when you can control people, you control their minds, you can get resources, you get your money, time, whatever. So things like that. So um I guess my journey into living Islam is not, it's not something that just clicked one day and then you just leave. No, it was like gradual thinking. um um like when I was in school, like it's always this fear, like uh one time I went to a boarding school as a teenager. So one time they said some people at night, like coming back from a mosque or something, and they saw something in the sky, like scenes of the in the hell, like women being pulled by the hair, by their breasts, like those stories, like, and then the next day we stayed up and tried to look if there's more of it, like, but it got me, like it make you fear, like, and then you started thinking like, is God nice or cruel? You cannot be both, and um so these things make question. And then as I got into my 20s, like I decided, okay, no, I decided God is nice, God is not cruel, like,
Yeah.
yeah, people make mistakes, but it's like children, you make mistakes, but you learn from it and you try to better yourself from it. And okay, so I decided, okay, God is not cruel, so I just left the cruel part, and then like God is nice. And then got into thinking, oh, like if you like the Quranist people, so they take the good part, they kind of like left out all the nasty part from the Hadith, and so whatever. So the Quran tell a few things, but Hadith tell a lot more things. Like in Quran, there's no such thing about women having to wear hijab. It just says lower your curtain to cover your bosom or something like that.
Mhm.
But nothing about cover your hair, so specific like in the Hadith.
Yes.
So at one point, I wasn't really a Quranist, but kind of like, okay, maybe this is better. And then I got onto the internet. Um, I started reading about other religions, all kinds of religions and cults that I could find. Even like sects of Christianity, sects of Islam. Like, why are they broken up? Like there are, I mean, like what 40,000, 50,000 of different religious denominations in the world. Like everybody think they are the right one.
Yeah.
Like how is that be possible?
Yeah.
So, but I read about a lot of things. Buddhism, Hinduism is like I couldn't really understand the thing, but mostly Christianity and Islam because they're so similar.
Yeah.
And I never really like some people they live in Islam and they got into something that less cruel like Christianity because Christianity have been reformed and today they are nicer than before than back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But back then they were really, really bad, even worse
Yeah.
than this. But anyway, I never really got into anything. It was just like a lot of reading, and then one day I just decided, it's all bullshit, So feel free to stop me if I'm talking too much.
Oh no,
And
this is good. This is good. No, I don't have any questions so far. So far you've gone up to your 20s. You've been trying to. So just to kind of reiterate what I've been hearing. What I've been hearing is you were a young lady. You're still a young lady, but you were a young lady that was looking and trying to reconcile what you were feeling with what you were taught and what you were seeing, which was contradicting also what you were taught. And also, you were starting to have issues with this idea of God being cruel, God punishing. Why is God so nasty? And you decided that you wouldn't focus on that part of the religion. Rather, you would focus on the part where God is merciful, God is loving. And
exactly.
some people do this, like especially Sufis. They'll focus more on God is love. I remember I used to go to this one conference and we used to have a joke. There's this guy Mokhtar Magrui. I don't even know if he's still doing speeches or what, but like you could count the number of times he said the word hub. It became like a joke. We were like hub meaning love. So like he would keep saying like this word love like at least once every couple sentences, the love of Allah and love, we must love the messenger. It's all love. So they focus a lot on this part, right? And you're right that Quranism is much easier to reinterpret to make it mean whatever you want to mean. I mean, there was this funniest thing happened. There was a guy that called into the show that I follow, one of my friends' podcast, the Myth Vision podcast, and this guy was sort of a Quranist, but he had the most like absurd views of like I've never heard anyone say this. He said Muslims are Christians and like he was like because the problem is when you don't have hadith, the Quran, you can make it mean anything. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like, what does this mean? Like you decide, right?
Yeah. And
so there's no context.
A complete book, like I don't think it's a complete, yeah. And like, we used to like growing up, we used to laugh at other people, oh, look at those Chinese people, they pray to a statue. What's a statue? It's not God, like, and then I suddenly one day I realized, like, oh, I believe in prophet, like splitting the moon in two and then, riding a winged horse to heavens and back, like my religion is just as absurd as any, Anyway.
Yeah. No, you're right. That we always, it's funny when you see certain like two different religions. I mean, as an atheist, it's especially obvious that none of them are from God and everyone believes, but everyone's like once I saw a Muslim and a Christian arguing. I mean, it happens all the time about God. And it's just funny because they're both wrong, but when you're in it, you only think the other one's wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You're like, oh no, only they're wrong. I'm right. Like you said, there's so many different denominations or whatever. Not that I'm making a comment about whether God exists, but in particular the different religious teachings, they just don't make sense to me, any of them.
Yeah.
So
So one day, like, but one major thing that happened was in 2005. Well, years before that, like in my family, I mean, I don't want to be so cliche and say I'm the black sheep of the family or anything, but I was always like kind of like a bit rebellious in a way that, you know, like, because in my home state, if you live in the capital city in Malaysia, it's very modern, liberal, you know, you can get by, you can get away with anything. But in my hometown, you know, like the women there wear hijab, and like in the big city, for example, they have separate cashier for men and women, or like
What?
yeah, I don't know.
What state is this, or a city?
Kelantan. It's
Okay,
been
Kelantan.
under the rule of
Sharia.
it's a Islamic political party. Like the rest of Malaysia is more governed by more liberal party, but in this state it's been under past for, I don't know, 20, 30 years, for as long as I could remember. I mean, they say that back in the 70s they were more liberal, but in the 80s, 90s, similar to the rest of the Muslim world, is becoming more and more religious. So yeah, so every time I went back, so my family, they're nice people, you know, they're educated people, my siblings, but they were still, you know, because we live in that community, so we were affected by it. You know, like my mom would be like, what would the people say? You know, like what would the neighbors say? So every time I went back, you know, we would visit our relatives or whatever, and then she would like, here, put this on, you know, like, okay, that shirt is too tight, here, take my dress or whatever, you know, like, and she's like pulling my shirt, you know, like, oh, that shirt is too short, I can see your butt, you know, things like that. Yeah, so every time I went back to see my family, I felt this sense of guilt. And my mom, she, of course, she wants the best for us kids, you know. She notices me, you know, behaving like that. She has her suspicions, you know, but I never really say it out loud, you know, even though I didn't really believe as much anymore, you know. She would, like, in the morning, as would mothers do, you know, knock on your door, like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, like, wake
Wake
up,
up.
pray,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, and I would like, okay, wake up, you know, pretend, make some noise, pretend that, okay, I'm gonna go pray, and then go back to sleep.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, but she had suspicions, and so every time I went back, she would like be, you know, like give me the, you know, the thing that women wear to pray. She would give me that, okay, and then, you know, she would give me like bottles of water that's been blessed by somebody, you know, they'd read the Surah Yasin, and like,
Oh no, I'm
okay,
not familiar with this because I
okay,
never in Canada. I haven't seen
it's a bit
this.
kind of like it's animist, you know, but
Yeah.
but yeah, they would take it to like a religious person, like imam, or something, and then you know, they would read the Surah Yasin, and they bless the water, and then like if you drink it, maybe your heart will be a bit more pure, you know. So
Oh,
she
okay.
would give me that, you know, like,
Yeah.
and you know, like, okay, it didn't work, you know. And then one day,
It didn't work.
you know,
You know,
I'm still.
it's funny that now, just to kind of, sorry, to distract for a second from the
Mhm,
conversation,
mhm.
with COVID, we're seeing that all of these holy waters do nothing at all whatsoever. It's just like even the holy water is making people sick now, and like they had to stop doing some
Yeah,
of these rituals with water because you know, for risk of spreading disease or whatever, right? So
yeah. So anyway, she would do little things like that, you know, bless her heart, you know, just,
yeah.
yeah. And and then one day, because she, after my father died, you know, she turned to religion, you know, like, well, I made her happy, you know, whatever. And she would go to Mecca, like every couple 2, 3 years she would go, you know. um and then one day she said, oh, you know, like she wants everybody to go with her, you know,
Mm.
all her siblings, you know, like, okay, you know, like, so we started saving money to go, whatever. And then when the time came in 2005, um my brother lost his job, and my sister just got a baby or something like that. So the only person who could go was me, my sister-in-law, and my mom. I had no excuse not to go, you know.
So, but before you went at this time, you were, how would you define yourself? Were
um,
you still Muslim? Did you
kind of
questioning?
Muslim, more agnostic than
Okay.
Muslim, but I wasn't rid of the fear completely. I was still scared that something would happen. Like they say, oh yeah, you don't have pure heart. You're gonna go there, and the moment you step out of the plane, lightning will come and
Because you don't
like,
believe
oh, the
properly.
fear is still there. Yeah. But then my boyfriend at the time told me, like, oh, just go, just think in your heart, if there's a God, or God, even though God knows your intention is not pure, but just go, that you want to go be with your mom and help your mom because she had like bad knees.
Yeah.
So okay, like I felt better after that, so I went, and nothing happened. No. But I'm glad that I
No
went.
lightning.
No lightning, not even rain.
It never
Yeah,
rains over there.
yeah. So anyway, but um I was glad that I went though. Have you gone?
I went for Umrah once.
Yeah, I went for
Yeah.
Umrah, not the
Yeah.
Hajj.
Yeah.
Because well, first of all, I like visiting historical places. So even though I don't believe in religion, I still enjoy learning history, and all how it happened back then. And I also saw like the way the people there behave in Medina and Mecca, um, you kind of like transported you to when was that, 1400 years ago, and kind of thought, okay, back then in this environment, like what happened and how it became like that, and then what makes the like in Mecca. I don't know about the rest of Saudi Arabia, but in Mecca, at least during prayer time, everything has to close down,
Yeah.
shops,
Yeah.
everything. So like supposedly everybody has to go to the mosque right there and pray,
Mhm.
because it's just like 10 minutes walk or less.
Yes.
And then when they pray, um, they read it out loud, and Surah the Al-Fatiha. Like it's very simple. It's
Mhm.
just basically repeating, God is great, worship Him and nobody else. That's it. Repeat, repeat, repeat. And imagine
Yeah.
you do that 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Like, and then I also saw things like, and this is confirmed by other people as well. Like in Mecca, I thought, oh, everything is holy. Everybody behave nice over there. No, no, the people, um, like the shopkeepers, or even like when one time I was like circling the Kaaba, and this guy was like trying to grab me from behind, and my sister-in-law got sexually harassed, and so it's like, okay, this is supposed to be your holy place, Allah. Like, why do you allow these things to happen? So it made me question, and and also like the whole thing is just about money. It's yeah, people need something to believe in, a place to go for pilgrimage or whatever. But imagine, if those things doesn't exist, how much money is going to be lost.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's a multi-billion dollar
yeah,
industry. It's a religious tourism. It's like Disneyland of Muslims,
exactly,
basically,
yeah.
right? And I do think that if this was sincerely, you made a good point, that if this was sincerely like a real pilgrimage, there should be some sort of charity involved that you don't pay. Like I remember when I went for
Exactly, yeah.
Umrah, we were paying $300 to $500 a night for the
Oh,
hotels. This
oh,
was like outside of Ramadan. In Ramadan, it's probably even more expensive. But we were close to the Haram, and it was like $300 US, no, Canadian
oh,
a
wow.
night. It was expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, we paid like per person several $1,000s, so it was quite a lot of money. But yeah, you're right. It's a big money. And the funny thing is, the Quran says there's no harm in making money from Hajj. It actually says that. It says something to that
Oh,
effect.
really?
Yeah, it says there's no harm in making business and this and that. So I guess they see it as okay. But yeah, they're definitely gouging. Like
Yeah,
that, especially for Hajj, because there's only one period of time you can go, so everything
right,
is super
right.
expensive, right?
Yeah. Yep. So
And one more thing,
anyways,
now that the oil is going away, it's becoming even more important, the Hajj.
Yeah. People need yeah. The more people believe, the more people go there, and the more they spend money on it.
Yeah.
I think any religion that asks you to give money is completely bullshit. I'm for
Yeah.
sure. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, I think all religions are bullshit.
Yeah.
But the ones who ask you for money, that's like you should know right away. Like bullshit.
Yeah, I'm gonna
That's
highlight this one comment before you continue.
okay.
My Nages, she's a fan. Mecca is Disneyland of Islam,
Exactly. Yeah.
filled with sex fetish.
Yeah.
Because yeah, Disneyland, you don't have that issue, and like the real Disneyland, you don't. You,
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure you'd be safer in the real Disneyland than you would in Mecca, which is
Yeah. You at
unfortunate.
least you could report, but over there you were.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. In I had a guidebook with me, and it says that like yes, women have said that they have been
Yeah.
sexually harassed,
Mm.
but if you want to report, be careful because the police there might jail you instead.
Mm.
Like so
Yeah,
yeah
because you don't have witnesses or something, right? For
yeah
witnesses or something like that.
they just
Um,
yeah. Anyway,
By the way, everyone, please like the stream. Give it a thumbs up if you're enjoying it and you're appreciating what Julie has to say. It helps the channel. Thank you. All right,
and
back to you.
if you like Max,
Thumbs up for Maxi.
thumbs up for Max. Anyway.
Is it Max or Maxi?
uh, Massimo. His full name
Massimo?
is Massimo Ariano.
Oh, okay.
He's not my son. He's just my sometime son adopted. Oh my gosh! Shut up!
He's being defensive,
Yeah.
right? He's,
My husband said Massimo Ariano Mackenzie because that's his name.
okay. So
Anyway.
sorry, you were saying, yeah. So if you can continue what you were saying.
Yeah. So anyway, where was I? Yeah, and I also noticed like one thing in Mecca. Like like you're a regular person or whatever, right? But you go to Mecca because of your desire to be close to God, to be, like this is your chance. You might not get this chance anymore. You spend all this money and you're here. So people who are normally nice people, they go there and they become more. I remember this incident, and we were in, I think, in Medina. That mosque, and they said like if you go pray near the this place, I forgot what it was, but it's like the
Road al
doorway
Jannah.
What?
The Road al Jannah with the Prophet.
Yeah, it's like
grave
the road to it's like
yeah.
straight to whatever. So
Yeah.
everybody wanted to pray in the front, and then there was this lady. It was like, oh, I lost my daughter. She's 6 years old, whatever. And then I mean, my mom was like, oh, don't bother about that. Like it's this, like it's let's go to the front.
Are you serious?
Like, yeah, I mean,
Yikes.
I feel bad.
Yeah.
Mom. But like she's a nice person, but like because you want to fight for this chance, you don't want to get this chance anymore, and so like fuck other people, and
I would have.
she didn't say that, but it's as if like everybody is doing that, like
Yeah. Okay.
and so I just like, okay, I'm going to the back, so I was way at the back, and then like going circling the Kaaba, for example, like everybody wants to be to the front, like if me, I want to be in the front because that's the shorter circle. For practical reason, not because it's but like like fuck this shit. I'm going, like whatever, where there's nobody, and I would go at 2-3 o'clock in the morning when there was nobody. So,
yeah.
Anyway, but I noticed like nice regular people, they became more like selfish and just want to be in the front, don't care about other people, things like that. So like, this is supposed to be a holy place, you're supposed to be nicer, not and
I mean, yeah, you would think that saving someone or helping someone find a daughter would be more of a blessing than praying in the front line, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's what dogma does. I mean, this is in one story, this is a problem with dogma. Like it elevates certain things over other things. I mean, to be honest, saving the girl could be you could look at it as a dogma too, but that's more useful to human beings, saving someone's helping someone's daughter,
Oh.
rather, especially after what you said about and by the way, I was warned too by Muslims when I was Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
Watch your kids. Sometimes if you're coming from Canada or
Mm.
like a rich country, someone might kidnap your kids. Like I was told, watch your kids carefully,
Yeah.
because
Um.
Muslims told me other Muslims have had the kids kidnapped
Um.
in Mecca. So I was also scared when I went there. I was like watching my kids, like,
Oh, you brought
I'm
your
going.
kids?
Yeah, we went. We all went. The whole family went. We all went
Yeah.
together. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. In my country is normally is the older people who will go. You know, kids. Only the rich people brought their kids, I guess, because our
Yeah,
currency is not that strong in the world. So
yeah, yeah. No,
anyway.
we needed it was a family trip anyways, and we were going to Egypt, so we stopped on the way,
Um.
and we made a. This was a good opportunity for us to see, and I wanted my kids to see, see Makkah, Medina, and all of
Yeah.
that stuff.
It's
I
a
don't
good
think they really.
experience overall.
They were too young, I think, to really understand what was
Oh
going on.
yeah.
To them, it was just
Yeah.
like a trip. They didn't really care.
Yeah.
But there are downsides for sure taking your kids to a place like that, because obviously if you want to go and do a lot of worship, you can't do that with kids around, because your kids need to be taken care of, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And then I want to tell you a story. Yeah, well, it was in Mecca. Like I told you, it's like men there. They all like the shopkeepers. They're always trying to touch you, or like if you go and I was like looking at shoes, right? And these guys are okay. Try this on, and then he would touch my leg. Like
It's
all these
that
guys
bad.
like, oh, I'm looking at jewelry rings, and I was like, okay, and then he would like caress my hand, things like that.
Wow,
And
that's creepy.
yeah, yeah.
Do these
And
people, like, what are these people like so sexually frustrated like that? They can have up to 4 wives, yet they're still acting like this.
yeah, but then you look at the place. It's Mecca. Everything is covered up.
Yeah.
There's no billboards. There's no TV channel showing you like MTV at that time. MTV with like sexy people or whatever. So they're sexually frustrated. There's no books or porn, or your internet is blocked. Like I don't know about today, but like you couldn't.
Yeah, it's the same today. It's the
Yeah,
same,
right.
because I went like a couple years ago, and not a couple years, well, like 8, 9, 10 years ago, and even then they had blocks on like Saudi, like Islam QA, which is a Saudi Salafi website, was blocked, and I was confused about that for a long time. Why would they block an Islamic website? But apparently, even for religious education,
Mhm, mhm,
only
mhm.
from their websites. You're
Yeah,
not allowed
I
to go to
was.
company.
Yeah, I was in Dubai, and I had at the time I was reading this like website called Religious Tolerance or something like that. It's just like showcasing all the different religions in the world, and nope, it was blocked. They don't want people to even learning about other religions or any. I guess they use certain keywords.
Yeah. So do you think do you think that actually societies like that, which are ultra conservative, actually end up creating more sexual problems by doing this?
Uh-huh. It's That's a word. Repression breeds obsession. So when you
Mm.
sexually repress, or when you repress something that's
Ah,
very natural, it makes you like so obsessed about it, thinking about it every day.
that's true.
And
Because if it's just there, you're like, okay, whatever. But if
yeah, yeah,
everyone, like,
yeah,
you
okay.
can't
I
have
mean, I
this.
have no problem with people, like if I wear a short skirt, you look at my legs and then you go home and you wake yourself off, like go ahead, don't bother me, but
Yeah,
it's on this whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so imagine this place in Mecca, no posters, no billboards, no, the books with
No
women on
dating,
it,
no
and the
dating.
women all wear, you know,
Yeah,
whatever
niqab.
yeah, and you could tell where people are from, women especially, where they are from by the way they dress. Like we Asians, we don't cover our face normally. We just like
It's
just
hijab.
yeah. um, the Saudis, they wear black. You know, the I don't know, the you can tell the Indians, Pakistani, they wear different things. Like so you can tell these things, right? So I think it's my theory that because we Asians, we don't cover our faces, we get harassed a lot, and because maybe we're smaller and we're not as I notice even the Saudi women, they're very like
Oh,
expressive.
hush.
Like they
Yeah.
talk to the shopkeepers even though they're wearing niqab, but the way they talk like like we
Yeah.
Asians were normally not like that,
Oh, okay.
so we get, I think that's one reason why we got harassed more. And yeah, anyway, so
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, I've heard stories like this. I didn't realize it was that bad. But I do know that, Apostle Prophet actually covered this as well with his interview with Nuria. She said the same thing. And when I went there, obviously I wasn't with any women. It was just my mom. Actually, my wife was there, but she also put on the niqab just for
just
security,
yeah, for the
extra privacy and security, because she had also heard that, white women as well are also sexually assaulted more
mhm,
because they look different and they don't
yeah,
they stand out, right? So when we
yeah,
went to Egypt as well, she wore niqab as well, but then obviously she took it off when we came back.
mhm,
But yeah, it's sad.
yeah.
It's that bad. I didn't realize it was actually that awful. And so how did this? So this made you did this make you feel like Muslims are fake Muslims, or that? How did you interpret this?
It may be question like um yeah, it's like so bullshit, yeah, this is all bullshit, like you if you really believe in Islam and like like this is the holy place, at least you wanna, even though I wasn't believing in Islam much anymore, but I was still wanted to go, and I still did all the rituals, the back and forth, the circling, like okay, just whatever, just to feel what it, like what it was like or whatever, but at least you respect, but anyway, yeah. Yeah, I mean it's all bullshit. It's a The rituals is pagan in origin. We know that. The rituals existed way before Islam came. Like
Yeah.
Muhammad came and took over and said, "Okay, we're gonna keep doing it and call it Islam from now on." And
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Like the
yeah,
the rituals, and there's even examples of hadith where the companions were like, "You want us to do this? This is like are you like this is pagan, right?" They didn't use those words, but they're like, going between Safa and Marwa. Those are the two idols, right? There were idols that were
mm,
on the hills,
uh,
and he's like, "No, no, no. This is a sign of Allah, Safa and Marwa. You can do it." So it's Islamicized, right? It's
mm,
become halal, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I read that they were, but they brought all their idols and put it around Kaaba, and the Hajj time, it wasn't just a religious pilgrimage. It was also, the place was also an economic place, right? They came and traded
Yeah.
whatever. So it wasn't just religion. It was religion slash economy, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, the pilgrimage was a big business thing even back
Even
then.
back
Big
then.
money
Yeah,
maker, right?
yeah, yeah. So anyway, one last thing before we leave the Mecca topic.
Yeah.
So I got to talking to our hotel attendant. He was from in India, I think, and I had sex with him in the attic, in Mecca. So to me at that time, it was nothing to speak of, But I don't know. I thought like
Haram,
I
extra
wanted to
haram.
see what happened, like this is the holy place, surely God
Yeah.
wouldn't let it happen, but I did it and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So
They're like
I was
extra
single,
extra blasphemous.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Wanted to see what happened, and all those things, like okay, that's it. So I went to. So my mom wanted to bring me to Mecca to make me go back to Islam. It had the opposite effect. I'm sorry, mom. Anyway, so I went back and okay, that's it. That's it. Yeah, 8 years now, sort of.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
you actually leaving Mecca, you became more confident in your positions that Islam was false.
yeah, yeah.
Because like you said, so when you saw the Kaaba, what did you think? Did you feel anything?
The fear was still there.
Yeah.
And then the tour guide will give us like a piece of paper
Yeah.
with, okay, she would say, okay, if you pray here, the points is multiplied by 100,000. If you pray here,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
like all those things, you should try to do all these things while you're here. um the fear was there, but other than that, the feeling of I'm the chosen one, no, no. Like some people
So
say, like um, oh, it was so surprising. You see all these birds like pooping way over there, and then I'm praying over here, and no bird poop on me.
yeah,
Like they feel like I'm the chosen one. No, I
yeah.
did not feel I was. That's a term for
Ah,
it. Haji Mabrur. Do you know the Mabrur?
Hajj Mabrur means accepted Hajj,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have that term. Like sometimes you come back and you're sick. You were sick while you're over there, and you come back, so you didn't
Oh.
really. They say, "Oh, that's not mabrur," like yeah. But
Mm,
if you come back and you feel, "Oh, I'm so blessed," yeah, it's more mabrur than not. Me, definitely not mabrur.
mm, mm.
Anyway,
It's interesting that it makes sense that you would expect that if this was truly from God and there was truly some special blessed connection to the real creator in this place, you should have experienced that. You should
yeah,
have felt that. Because what we see now is that the Makkah and every other religious ceremony and ritual it's nothing different. It's just human beings again playing make believe.
yep,
And so what we find is they're being just as bad over there as anyone else. And I think the people that live there are probably more jaded than anyone else.
yeah,
Because to everybody else, they're like, oh my
yeah. You
God,
just
it's
come,
Makkah.
yeah. You just come for 2 weeks and then you go back home. Like people
Yeah.
over
But
there.
the people that live there, they
Yeah,
see the theft, the corruption, the murder, the all of that stuff, the sexual harassment. And of course, like you said, it's even worse over there because at least if you're in a real Disneyland, the police would come and
yeah,
investigate
yeah,
and take it
yeah,
seriously and throw that man in jail, or at least he'd be charged or whatever, there'd be a case. But over here it's just like, well, you're scared to even tell the police because the police, first of all,
yeah.
they probably don't care. They'll probably ask you for a bribe, and then they might arrest you
Mhm.
at the end of it, and you're a foreigner with no rights or whatever. So yeah, it's actually worse than Disneyland.
Yeah,
The non-Muslim Disneyland would actually be better takes care. The non-Muslim countries take better care of the women
yeah,
than the
yeah.
real
That's
creator's
yeah.
house
Mhm.
on earth, right? And
Yeah.
I wonder. I mean, I know you wouldn't be able to answer this, but honestly wonder, like, even for, like, for example, the Sikhs in the Sikh temple, the Golden Temple in India,
Mhm.
do they have the same sort of experiences where they go there and they feel jaded? Do people that go to the Catholic to meet the Pope or whatever, do they feel jaded? Like, because some people do have the opposite. They do have this religious awakening and they feel
Mhm. Mhm.
inspired and this and that.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I guess because I talk to a lot of ex-Muslims, I know more examples of people like you
Yeah. Of
that went
course.
to
Yeah.
Makkah and they're like, okay, what is this? I
Actually.
expected something
Yeah.
else, but even to me when I went, I was like, I saw the Kaaba, and everyone told me when you see the Kaaba, you're going to
Uh-huh.
cry. I saw the
Wow.
Kaaba. My first thing was, it's kind of smaller than I thought. I thought it'd be bigger, and then I'm like, I'm not crying, and I was disappointed. I'm like, make me
Bad,
to
bad.
cry. Like, I want to feel. I want to feel. I was like pure Muslim. I wasn't doubting
Mhm.
nothing. I was pure Muslim at the time.
I
It just
think
didn't have that effect on me. So
I I think you're being honest with yourself, and these other people,
yeah,
if they feel something, I think that it comes from within. It's
yeah,
them,
yeah. You're
they make
projecting
the
it.
feeling. They want it so much that it happened, or
Yeah,
there's a term for it. I forget what
yeah.
the like you like people say, oh, it's a coincidence, like I was hoping and then it happened. It's because you were hoping you
Yeah,
see it.
yeah,
Otherwise, you wouldn't see it because you weren't hoping, Like,
yeah.
so, anyway.
And shout out to Fatally Honest. She's in the chat as well. She's another
Hey.
Malaysian ex-Muslim. So check out her channel if you get a chance. She makes good content.
So, anyway, um, yeah. So I came back and I went, okay.
Oh, sorry. One more thing,
Mm.
because I just thought of it. Someone mentioned Arab ego, and I don't. I think he's talking about something else, but it made me think about this. Did you feel racism at all over there?
Um, Classes, yeah. Racism, maybe because we weren't really mixing with other people, so we stick to our people. So, but
When I
classes,
went,
yeah, the way we all like being segregated anyway. Like
mm, mm,
they're trying to make people like go wherever they needed to go smoothly. So
When I went,
mm,
especially as a brown person, you
oh,
feel that a lot. Like
no, really?
Pakistani, they call you Pakistani if you're black. They might even
Yeah.
joke and call you abd, like slave.
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
I,
uh-huh.
I felt, I, I mean, I did notice that because coming from Canada, where people, they don't really judge you like that. I mean,
Mm.
maybe they do, but they don't say it to your face. But over there, they say it to your face, Pakistani. Like I'm automatically
Uh,
Pakistani. I'm not even Pakistani. I'm from
yeah,
Kenya.
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah,
0%
yeah,
Pakistani, but I'm
yeah.
immediately assumed to be Pakistani. And you can see the way they talk to yeah, you're right. Some of it's classism, some of it's racism, maybe, but you don't feel like these are like holy people at all.
Oh no,
The
no,
worst are
yeah,
non-Muslims.
yeah,
So like
yeah.
the character is, and then they don't line up. They don't know how to
Oh
line
no,
up.
no, no. I mean, remember when one time there was a picture, when Japan was hit by tsunami or something, and then the next day, like, with all the rubble, and people were lining up to get water. Like these people, even after such a tragedy, they still had manners. But yeah, this place is the opposite. I don't want to say all of them are like that. I work in international companies, and I work with uh, I don't remember Arabs, but Egyptian, then just some are okay for sure, but the place that I went, maybe the less educated ones, I don't know. I don't want to.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want
Not to
to
overgeneralize,
stereotype.
but yeah, that's true. Not to overgeneralize. What I meant was, in that
But yeah,
society, it's okay to behave that way. Not that every
yeah, yeah,
single person.
they're more normalized than other
It's
places.
it's
Yeah.
it's considered okay. Like, you know how in America now you have this thing with wokeism, and everybody is basically so concerned about pronouns, and
Mm-hmm,
racism, of
mm-hmm.
course, is the care about racism is very, very high. Over there,
No,
not even existent.
no,
It's
no.
like, good luck. Like,
Yeah,
someone's
yeah,
racist, like nobody cares if someone's racist. So the society here is, I don't know, Muslims, maybe they'll disagree, but it's far more civilized. I'm sorry to say if I sound
yeah,
like a colonialist or something. I'm just saying my reflections, being there and
yeah,
being
yeah,
here. People here are far more civilized.
yep.
They treat you with dignity and respect and kindness. Like, as a Muslim, as a freaking Muslim
Oh
with a
yeah.
big beard,
Oh,
I was respected as a human being. I mean, maybe some people treated me badly, but for the most part, everybody treated me decently. Like,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, in general, I love the Muslims in the West. They're nice. They even
Mhm.
went to the Pride Parade, to show support for
That's a
LGBT.
little
So
bit.
I have no problem with them here, no problem. Yeah, but in Muslim majority country, there's different thing. So
Yeah, no, I
when
meant the
they,
non-Muslims treat Muslims here better than Muslims treat non-Muslims over
oh
there.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So before we continue, because there were two super chats, we'll just quickly address them. One of
Mm-hmm.
them was from Stop Scamming Man. Thank you again for the donation. He said, "Hi, this is again totally off topic, but
Okay.
recently Malaysia's ex-prime minister said it wouldn't be justified to murder millions of French in reprisal for colonialism. I didn't see much backlash
Uh,
from Malaysians over this. Do you know about this? What he's talking about?
no, no, I haven't read
Okay,
about
so
it.
that's fine. I know what he's talking about. There was, the Malaysian prime minister made some really, really dumb comment
Yeah.
about like tit for tat sort of thing. If you don't know anything about it, that's fine. But thank you
Yeah.
for the super chat. Stop scamming, man. And last question is from Azri. He's saying, a bit of topic, but Julie, do you agree that Malay special rights is like an apartheid system?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But I understand why it had to, they had to do it in the first place. In back then, when the British came to colonize Malaysia, or at that time, Tanah Melayu. They I don't know exactly why, but maybe they brought the Chinese to work in the tin mines, and the Indians to, from India and from China to work in the Indians work in the plantation. So over time, those opportunities have rewarded the Chinese, especially, like, so today, if you go to Malaysia, the Chinese are more concentrated in the big cities, because those big cities were tin mines before. The city just formed around the mines. So the Chinese control the businesses in Malaysia. And so the Malays were kind of like, oh, okay, how come we were not given the opportunity? Some people say, oh, because you didn't want to work in the first place. I don't know
Mm,
why the reason, but that's what happened.
yeah.
So there was a clash, and racial fighting, and people died. The Chinese, Malay attacking Chinese, killing one another.
Mm,
So because of that, the government came up with a program to give some rights to the Malay people, which, like programs like giving discounts for loans to buy houses, for example. Or like me, I got a scholarship to go study overseas. Those, it's not cheap.
yeah.
So, they were hoping eventually it will, like lessen the difference more.
I see.
Yeah.
So
So,
okay.
but yeah, but
Mhm.
it is apartheid system, and I think today we don't need it anymore. I don't know. I'm not an economist. Like, you study these things before you take it. But yes, it is unfair.
Right. So thanks for that. Next question is about S. Murphy. Malcolm X said different. So Malcolm X, he said different. What he's trying to say is that Malcolm X, when he went to Mecca and he
Um,
was amazed at the Hajj. So I'm just gonna make it. I've read Malcolm X's autobiography. I do love the guy, and I love his book, and I recommend people read it. I think he's a genuinely good, great individual who really truly was trying to find the truth and did whatever he could. But the problem with what Malcolm X said is he got celebrity treatment at
uh,
the Hajj.
mm,
The prince or whoever it was at the time gave him a special access. He was kept in five-star hotels. He was kept away from the halls. I've heard from people I'm from Africa, and I've talked to my uncle. My uncle said when they went for Hajj, like all the Africans would sleep in one giant like room, right? Like it's not like when you say everybody's equal at the Hajj, it's not true. You have people
yeah,
sleeping in air
yeah.
conditioned tents, getting like buffet meals, like as if they're on like again Disneyland sort of experience. And then you got people that
Mm.
there's like 30 of them sleeping on the floor in a room together, all coughing and making each other sick and stuff like that, right? So you can't really, Malcolm X was genuinely a good person, but his experience was very one-sided. He had
Yeah,
he
yeah,
had the freaking prince of the
yeah.
kingdom showing him around, giving him, like he's gonna only see what they want him to see. He didn't see the racism. He was a special guest of the,
Right.
you know, of
And
the government.
people can have different experience. You
Yeah.
can go there, stay in the worst kind of place, and still uh, feel good about it. Like just because their experience is true doesn't make my experience less right. Like you can have different
Yeah, that's
experiences,
true.
though.
That's a good point. Yeah. I'm just saying that, yeah, yeah, that's a perfect point. Okay. So go ahead.
Yeah,
That's done with
yeah.
Makkah now.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't go to Mecca. Go if you want to go, but that's my opinion about it. Is like I'm not against people having religion. Believe in whatever bullshit that you want. My problem with religion in general is just when you started discriminating people and call it religion and say, oh, God wants it that way. Like
Yeah.
like the Westboro Baptist Church. Like you talk to them as a person, they're nice, but they said, oh, God said you have to hate facts. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm using that word, okay? So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so,
No, we definitely don't. Yeah. Yeah,
so
exactly.
it
Yeah.
make those are the things that I have a problem with. The other stuff, you want to pray 5-10 times a day, as long as you don't bother other people, you don't enforce hijab on women, you don't politicize religion. That's all, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Someone's asking, can non-Muslims go there? No, non-Muslims cannot go there.
No,
Uh, yeah. And in
no.
terms of racism, some people in the chat are saying that Muhammad taught racism. I personally disagree with that. I know there are racist hadith
Mm,
out there, but I was actually taught the opposite, that you don't
mm,
treat people based differently based on race in Islam. And you go to any mosque, whether there's a black imam or white imam or Bosnian or
mm,
Turkish or Arab, in at least in Canada, there's no difference. You can go to any mosque and you'll be treated the same no matter what your color of your skin is. I never felt any racism in Canada from Muslims. This only
yeah.
happened when I went to, like you said, a classist society where they're very heavily classist, to the point that when you go to in Egypt, I found this funny. On the
Mm.
doors, they have names on the doors of in the apartment building. They have people's names on them, and they would have like Mohandis, meaning engineer, and then the name, or like
Oh.
doctor. A lot of
Mm.
them would put doctor. Like, it's like, okay, does everyone need to know you're a doctor? Apparently, everybody needs to know you're a doctor, so you put it on the name of your door.
Oh.
It's like
Mm.
it's important over there. What your profession is apparently makes a big difference in how you're treated, right? So yeah. Anyways, we talked enough about Makkah, I think.
Yeah, no, I think we're kind of stuck on that topic.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so okay. So what happened after that?
Yeah. So there was a, if there's any turning point, that was it for me. And then
Yeah.
yeah, but that was 2005. But I was still like closeted murtad, like it didn't tell anybody, not even
Yeah.
maybe my boyfriend at the time, but not even my friends knew about it. Even though like I had friends to go drinking with, like okay, no problem with that. But they're still Muslim, everybody's still Muslim, and I didn't tell anybody. And yeah, and then in 2010, 2011, I've had Facebook since 2007, but I was not really active, and I was using my real name. I had friends and family, like work friends and family on connected to me on Facebook. And then one day I saw like my friend join a group called Murtad in Malaysia, in Singapore. Um, so and then I asked to join. It's a private group, so it's not public to anybody. So I joined, and then with this account, like Juli Jalaluddin, and then I started, posting things, and it's mostly just reflections and what I saw. And what did I post one time? Something like um, about God and women or something like that.
Mm.
Um, like why God is so controlling of women. And my conclusion is that God sounds like a middle age Middle Eastern men, like the way they want to control women,
Yeah.
uh, and then somebody screenshot, and then it became
Oh.
viral.
Oh.
Yeah. And in Malaysia at that time, there was a few cases before me, like people who got viral because of something they said on the internet, like, and then they got dogs, and then some of them they just like go quiet, like lay low for a while, stay quiet for a while, and then come back. Or some of them, like especially the like if you're like a more public or come from a prominent family, they would make a public statement saying that um oh, like, oh, I take back what I said, I'm still Muslim, just for the record, blah blah blah, like, but we know, like, when we talk to them, we know they just have to put up an appearance. So anyway, and then it happened to me, and then yeah, I got dogs. They put all my family's names, and um my they didn't know where I didn't tell, I didn't put my address anywhere online, so they didn't know where I was living, but they know where my mom was living. Because my dad was quite when he was alive, he was quite popular person in our village, he's quite influential, so people know. And then uh, I don't know how much they were harassed, but my sister said some reporters went and to my mom's place and wanted to talk to her. And
Wow. This was
until,
in Malaysia,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and they, of course, they blame me for it, like, because
Oh.
you stop saying all these things, like, why are you saying all these things? And I had an argument in message with my brother for hours. I remember that night. I didn't say out loud, yes, I'm murtad, but I said, nope, I don't agree. I don't agree with the way Islam is. He was trying
Yeah.
to save me, like pull me back or whatever.
So can I ask you something? So this was
Yeah.
in Malaysia.
I was in Malaysia.
And
Yeah.
is this against the law in Malaysia to post what you posted?
Not that, I don't know. No, it's not
No.
illegal.
Okay.
But some people have been, I don't want to say arrested, but taken.
Okay.
Like
Interrogated.
yeah, they've been interrogated, and they would have, so they make your life kind of difficult. They would take your phones away, your computer away during the investigation, and then you might not get it back. So, and like
okay.
there was this kid, I remember, he liked I Love Israel Facebook group one time, and he was taken. Like,
Because of that.
maybe it was a mistake. You clicked on mistake or whatever. He's a kid.
Oh my
But I was technically a Muslim, right?
Yeah.
So, but if, let's say, if you're non-Muslim, if you're Chinese or Indian, and you say things like that, questioning, they might take you in and say, oh, you're trying to mess around with Islam, and Islam has a special right in Malaysia, So it's not really illegal, but they use whatever law they have, like disrupting racial harmony, for example. Yeah. So they're disrupting peace. So yeah, people have been taken.
It sounds a little bit better than Pakistan. A lot better, actually.
Oh yeah,
because in
yeah,
Pakistan, like
a lot better.
or like even the Middle East, like many Muslim countries, you
Yeah,
may disappear.
I remember
right?
in Bangladesh, like some journalists got killed right away.
Yeah, Bangladesh. I think the problem with Bangladesh is, I mean, I'm no expert, but I think it's more the mobs than the government. The
Okay.
government is trying
Yeah.
to deal with it,
Uh-huh.
but in Pakistan, the government is actually. I'll just mute you for 1 second. In Pakistan, the government is actually the one that's enabling this abuse, right? So it's actually perpetrated by the government, which is unfortunate.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. So while we're waiting for Julie to deal with Maxi, yeah. So this is why dogs are haram in Islam. They ruin your live stream. No, I'm just
They
kidding.
ruin your podcast.
No, it's all good. We have a dog too right now, so a puppy. So that's it's nice. It's nice having a dog around. It's more work than having a cat for sure, but they're really loving, like way more loving than cats in general.
I love both anyway.
Yeah.
So what were we saying?
Yeah, we're just talking about Malaysia and how you got doxxed. And your family got doxxed, your parents, you were harassed, the reporters came to your house.
So anyway, my family blamed me, basically, like, it's because of you were doing all these things, saying all these things on the internet. And then I was arguing with my brother for hours, and my brother-in-law, messaging me saying that you should make a public statement retracting what you said, like, oh, well, I tried to be nice about it, but I won't go that far, like, I refuse to do that. And my brother said, I'm gonna come talk to your boss, drag your ass back home, something like that. And I was like, come on, I was at the time, I was like 38 years old. I've been working since I was 25, financially independent. I never asked for money. I live away from you. I'm not dependent on you. And you want to do what again? Like, like, come on, And then, so I basically just like, stood my ground,
Yeah.
But I felt sorry for them, like, I was like, come at me. I'm the one who said these things, not them. Don't harass them. And up to the point that they were embarrassed to go to work, the kids embarrassed to go to school. Like, I'm sorry.
That's good. That's a good point. That you were financially independent. And I always tell people that ask me this question, like how should I talk about Islam, because a lot of people want to talk about it because they feel like it's part of the therapy for them to sort of, you know, let out their
Yeah.
feelings and say, this is what
Yeah.
I was lied to, I feel cheated, you know, this was what I believe to be true was not true, and they want to say it. I always tell
Yeah.
people, wait until you're
Yeah.
financially independent, wait, and
Yeah.
because you don't want to be kicked out of your house for this, and
Exactly.
they'll just make your life a mess. You don't want to mess up
If
your life,
yeah.
and there's
If you're
enough people doing it.
young,
Yeah,
yeah, if you're young, you're a teenager, you're dependent on your parents to pay for your bills and your studies or whatever. Don't, don't do it yet. Like, you think about that. You don't want to be homeless.
yeah. And by the way, I have to say, your personality is just like mine.
Oh,
I don't care what anyone thinks. I just can't help myself. I feel like even if my parents would have been devastated, they're very liberal, they don't care.
yeah.
But I couldn't help myself. That's just my personality. And I think people like that, we want to share it to people, and we don't care what the consequences is. We just do it, right?
Well, I'm not young anymore. Even
Yeah.
when that happened, I was already 38. I'm not
Yeah.
like 20. If I was 20, maybe it would be different.
Yeah.
Maybe I would listen to them. But I
Yeah.
was already 38. Like,
Oh,
come on. So, and
that's true. You're an adult. Like, you have every right to say whatever you want to say,
yeah,
right?
it's like, if I don't do it now, when am I gonna do it? When I'm 60 on my deathbed? Like,
Yeah. True.
so it's like, like, I don't want to keep on being closeted more and more. I want to be more open over time till the day I die instead of the other way around. And I've, like, all my life, I felt that I've always been closeted for one reason or another. Like hiding who you really are, and that can take a toll on somebody. Like you today. Like my personality is because of what you went through, and that's not a good thing. Like, if I had kids, I don't, but kids should be encouraged to speak what you can tell them, okay, that's wrong or that's right, but they should be encouraged to speak instead of hushing them, like, oh, shouldn't say that, shouldn't say this. So anyway,
Yeah.
and yeah, so and so I just sort of like stopped talking to my family at that time, and then one day my family just came to my house unannounced. So my my mom, my sister, and a couple other people, they came, and what they wanted to do was like make me like quit my job and follow them home. And my mom told me, okay, I'll go to Quran classes with you. We'll read the Quran together. So I was, like, I felt like I was meant to be this broken bird to be saved and reformed. Like, okay, like, I mean, that's the way they thought of me. I didn't feel that. I felt liberated, if anything. Well, I was depressed at the time, but in terms of speaking out my mind, I felt liberated. The opposite. So there's no way I could do that. I think if I went back home with them at that time, I could end up killing myself. Like, you didn't want to do that. So anyway, well, they weren't aware of that. Like, they weren't aware of. I think, like, at that time I was also like leaving my ex-boyfriend, and he was kind of abusive, and it took me like a couple of years to leave him. So that, and also coming to terms with what I told you, I was sexually abused as a child, too young, and I blame myself for it. So those experiences, like, I kind of like repress, don't think about it, it will be okay. And then one day I just like saw myself stuck in a cycle. I was like being with abusive men one after another, and it was like, so I was, like, suddenly you just like, oh, that's it, like, you want to get out of it. And the realization make you feel so depressed, and like, but you want to struggle to get out. So, and then coupled with this, like, so it's like I had to fight with it, fight to overcome it. So I said, that's it, like, it's as if like, okay, I want to start anew. That's it, leave everything. So I told my mom, go back home. That's it. I didn't try to explain anything. I wanted to, but I couldn't. And it's not their fault. It's my fault, because we were never really well, at least me anyway. Maybe they're not like that, but I never really spoke my mind even as a child, kind of like hiding closeted,
Mm.
even though they know how rebellious I was. Um, so I couldn't explain it. I could write it in a blog. I could talk to you about it, but I could not tell my mom.
Yeah.
So I couldn't explain it. I just told her, "Go home, mom. Just go home." And yeah, and then yeah. So after that, they tried to call me. They never really left me. I was the one who cut them off for a
Hmm.
while, and they texted me. They tried to call me. I just ignored messages. But at that time, it was still like they were still trying to guilt trip you. I mean, that's what Islam does. They try to, oh, like it's because of you, mom is sick. It's because of you we end this. Like for months, it's the same kind of messages. I just ignore everything. And then one day the messages started changing tone. It's more like, how are you?
Oh,
Like,
wow.
yeah. So I
Hmm.
guess like maybe like, okay, like if you're gonna keep on blaming me, then maybe I shouldn't be in your life. Um, but and then when it is this, okay, maybe we should accept you just the way you are, and maybe that's why the change in tone. So, and that was like 8 years later. I mean, like there were messages here and there, calls here and there, but like 8 years later, I'm already here. And then they reach out to my husband right now, and then my husband was like, "It's time for you to talk to them." So one day, so yeah, since last year or 2 years ago, we started
Oh,
talking
wow.
again.
Very recently.
Yeah, very recent. So I think like 7, 8 years I didn't talk to my family.
Wow. So how was that talking to them?
Well, my husband told my sister, maybe just don't talk about the religion stuff. So we just sort of like avoid that,
Mm.
like, they're still Muslim, I'm still
Yeah.
atheist, but we can be family. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we just don't talk about those things. I mean, but how moms are, like, they would say assalamu alaikum, like,
Mm.
even in text, we young people, we don't do that, but older people, they say those things. I just
Yeah.
say, oh, wa alaikum salam, no problem, like, okay, just go along with it, anyway. So
Yeah, I would say I totally understand that. I have the same relationship with my brother. We just don't talk about religion.
yeah, yeah,
We just because we don't need
yeah,
to anyways.
we already
Yeah,
know we don't agree,
yeah,
so yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
anyway.
So yeah, so that's quite a beautiful journey. It seems like you went through a lot of hardship and a lot of difficulties. What you said about the patterns of relationships is very true as well. A lot of times we subconsciously end up going from relationship to relationship without realizing that the
Yeah.
certain, we've got unhealthy patterns in our lives that have started from childhood, and we don't necessarily recognize that, so we keep repeating the same
Hmm.
mistakes. It's all too human thing to do. Both guys and girls do this. They both end up picking sometimes people that they feel more comfortable, or maybe even more exciting, but in many cases it ends up being a bad match. It's just that as a child you never got the proper model or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And now you're happily married, right? Which is
Yeah.
great.
Yep. Yep. And my husband is he was born Catholic, but now he's atheist. So yep. Yep. We
And yeah, that's another thing. You're not allowed to be married to a non-Muslim man, right?
Yeah. So yeah. But we got married we didn't have a church wedding or anything. Like, it's just like a lawyer
Yeah.
married us. That's it. Like, okay.
And
So
did
yeah.
did we talk about how you left Malaysia? Someone's asking, did you leave
Oh
Malaysia?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um yeah, so when I was I when my I think when my mom when my family came to visit me to bring me home, whatever. But at that time, I already quit my job. It was in 2012 or 2011, I forgot. But I already quit my job, so I had an apartment at that time that I sold. So I was waiting for the money, and I just wanted to take like a year off, like just travel a little bit, and yeah, just, I don't know, kind of like a spiritual pilgrimage on my own or something. I don't know. Um, but the sale of my apartment took a while to come through. So I was like, oh, I had no money. I had to start looking for a job again. So, and then I got a job offer in Norway.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So,
Nice.
yeah. And, but at that time, because I talked about my depression, right? So, until one point that I couldn't really focus at work. So, I think my job was kind of slipping. So, that's also another reason I wanted to take a year off. So I went to Norway. I got a job there. So I worked there for a couple of years, and then I quit again. And something I got exposed again in Norway. It's like,
Oh, again.
yeah, kind of stupid. I mean, how can you get exposed so many times, right? Yeah. But anyway, oh yeah, back to Malaysia. So I was exposed, like docs on the internet. Um, like they took a picture of me, and they have this group. It's called Pendedahan Murtad or something like that. It's like Murtad exposure. So they would, like, every week or so they would do an expose of another Murtad, and these are the particulars. Go harass them, Muslim
What?
warriors. Yes, yeah.
Wow. They took a picture of you from in real life, or you mean online?
Picture that I post on the internet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. They
Okay.
take, and oh, why did they take a ugly picture? Take a nicer one, please. I want to look good in the expose. Anyway, so yeah, so I was doxxed back in Malaysia, and at that time, well, me and my ex at that time, we were living in the same house, even though we were not talking. I was in the process of leaving for good, but he was talking to another friend who told me, like, oh, you gotta be careful. Your name came up in Putrajaya. Putrajaya is like Washington D.C. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's like your name came up in Putrajaya. I'm like, okay, but at that time I was like making my plans to leave, and then so, and eventually I left. So fine. So that was the first expose. And then I went to Norway, and then one day this reporter approached me and then said, oh, I want to like talk to you and stuff. So we had a nice chat. I explained my position, like, oh, this is what I think, what I like, what I don't like, blah blah blah, and turns out it was a tabloid paper. Yeah. And then, like, a few days after that, I even gave him a picture. I'm like, okay, give me a picture, like, okay, I gave him a picture, and then I was in the front page of this tabloid newspaper
Oh,
with
wow.
my face blurred,
Oh,
like
okay.
a criminal.
Yeah.
Like, okay, just because I don't believe in Islam and having a different opinion, and that was the bigger like bigger docs or whatever. But I'm like, okay, by this time I was like, whatever, like I wasn't. And what happened at that time that made him wanted to talk to me was I created some Facebook page. Murtad in Pantai Timur. Pantai Timur is the state I'm from. It's actually consisted of two states, Kelantan and Terengganu, which is, like I explained before, supposed to be more religious than the rest of the country. And it even has a nickname, Serambi Mecca. Serambi means porch. So Mecca's porch, meaning
Oh,
that, like, oh, we are more religious than you, like the women there wear hijab. And then, we segregate men and women, And if you have like a movie poster in my home state with a face of a woman, they would like Sharpie your hair.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, so they were enraged on my Facebook page because this is Mecca's porch. How could anybody from this state become Murtad? I was like, of course you can. Here I am.
Yeah.
So it's like the biggest slap or something. And that so on that page I recruited a few of my friends to become admin, and we just were having fun, like posting like stupid stuff, like like I think I posted something like Allah and Muhammad are gay lovers, something like that. Because we have a word that they teach us. I remember growing up, they say Muhammad is kekasih Allah. Kekasih is either boyfriend or girlfriend or lover. So, like, technically, I'm not wrong. They have
Yeah.
lovers.
Yeah.
And I assume God is male because he's definitely not female. So they're gay
Yeah.
lovers,
Yeah.
like, and then people would post, like kind of like a bit offensive things like Charlie Hebdo cartoons or things like that
Okay.
of that nature. So it can get a little, yeah. But to me, it's like whether I agree or not, the way they approach people, that's none of my problem. It's just a cartoon. It's just something they write on the internet. It's not like
Yeah.
they go and slap people. That's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry,
Hey, Maxi.
he's back. Okay. So anyway, so the page was only up for like 1 week. That was all. But it got we got likes. I don't know. Maybe it reached about 2,000 likes
Oh,
in
wow.
2 3 days. Um, but after 1 week, it got mass reported, and then it got taken down. But and then at that time, I told the other admins, like people like, oh, okay, they have to quit the admins. They didn't want to be, like, because they're still in Malaysia. So I say, oh, okay, like I'll admit I'm the sole admin, like no problem. So yeah, that's what I said, like, oh, I'm the admin, no problem, and so this reporter approached me, and then we, like we had a chat, like normal people, like what we're doing right now, just talking about things like this. And then he put me in the front page, like saying that, oh, she's because I admitted to being depressed and things like that. So, oh, she's lunatic. So, that's why she left
The
Islam.
gaslighting. Yeah, it's unfortunate that, so whenever someone leaves a religion, it's not like they stop being human. If they had any issues, issues would still continue, those challenges. And sometimes leaving the religion, even though it is a relief, and it is, it unburdens you from a lot of things,
Mhm.
still the actual process of leaving can be a challenge because of the family pressure,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the cultural pressures, the losing of
The,
friends. And
I call it
so
emotional blackmail.
yeah, emotional blackmail. And so it's, self-doubt, self-questioning. And in your case, you were very public about it, very active, so you got a lot more pressure as well from the public, and you had this family issue. So it's understandable that people that leave Islam have to go through all this. But at the end of the tunnel, there's always a bright light. There's always a chance to be free. Once you're free of the burden, then things do get better eventually, right?
Yeah. So so I so after the article came out, I reached out to him, and I'm like, why did you say all these things? I mean, like when we were talking, you were not saying it like that. And can you get him?
Yeah.
Thank you, honey. Um,
Or you open the door.
oh my
Stop
gosh.
it.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I have kids, so I know the same issue with kids, except so I want to share your link. I just muted you for a second. I'm going to share your link to your blog, and I want to let people know that you can check out Julie's blog, her Twitter as well. I've linked as well in the description, so check out her Twitter, check out her blog. Is there any other places people can find you? Your Facebook as well? Well, what
Yeah.
do you prefer?
Yeah, I'm not active on my blog, Twitter, or Facebook. Yeah, but once in a while, the reason was like Facebook, in 1 year, like sometimes I got reported so much that I got
Oh, wow.
banned for like half a year. So I'm like, okay, and then I would go to Twitter. Twitter, they are less, strict about that. So I'm like back and forth. But lately, I've been busy, and I'm kind of like cool
Yeah.
down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm around. I'm not going anywhere.
So let me go to a couple of questions. Then we will end off because it's been a great conversation and you've covered your story in great detail. We covered the one about the apartheid system and the prime minister. The next one is yeah, we already answered that one about how to find you. What can't fight this feeling is asking, what percent of Muslims do you think are closet ex-Muslims in Malaysia?
I don't know, but I yeah, I can't really say, but many people, many Muslims in Malaysia, they are many of them are liberal anyway.
Yeah.
They just don't bother to question. But if you talk to them, oh yes, I'm a Muslim, but then they go out drinking with you, like you see
Yeah.
them having sex, like like yeah, like I had one friend. She was, she was my drinking buddy. And I know she had boyfriends, and one guy after another. And then one day she found out that I was famous on the internet, and she tried to like advise me. I was like, come on, I know you're drinking more than I do. And then, you have boyfriend that you're not married to, and you want to tell me to be Muslim? Come on. Uh, and then after, it was like one time it was Ramadan or something, and then we ate together. Like,
Yeah.
so it's, I mean, she considered herself Muslim, but at least she wasn't being hypocritical after that with me, like, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So I think like many Muslims in Malaysia, they're already liberal. They
Yeah.
just never bother to question. Like most people, they just don't question. They just like, it's just a name. Like when I went to Norway, like the people there, like, oh, what religion are you? Oh, I'm kind of Muslim but atheist. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm Christian in name, but I
Yeah.
only go to church for funeral and wedding. Like,
Yeah.
I think most people in Malaysia is already like that.
Oh, yeah.
But the ones who are more vocal, that it's not a lot. I mean, I see on Facebook or Twitter. But I will say this one thing: when I started talking back in 2011 or 2012, I think people were more timid about it. And at that time, like more like I would consider my generation, like, but these days you see young people, 18 years old, 19 years old, already being smart at maybe it's the internet, like you can get information anywhere that you want, easily. And on Twitter, people are more, so what? I'm more that deal with it, instead of trying to be more like apologist about it.
Yes.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. I,
And
I think that's the future as well. It's
yeah,
going to be a lot
it's
of.
still minor, I think, but it's getting more and more. And what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I mean, I don't consider myself an activist or anything. I just talk stuff on the internet. That's all. Um, but I've had people come up to me and say, "Oh yeah, like years ago, I was in school and I heard my friends talking bad about you. Like you're the infamous, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. But look, I am today. I'm friends with you. I'm atheist." And I've had a few people come up to me and say like, "Oh yeah, I want to say sorry." Because I used to argue with you defending Islam, but now I'm atheist or
Oh, wow.
agnostic or whatever. Yeah, a few of them. And one time, this was when I was back in Malaysia, or whatever. After I was first doxxed, so my face was on the internet, and then I went to Apple store, and I wanted to fix my MacBook, and this girl behind the desk was like, you can see like why she's smiling like that, and he
Yeah.
said, "Are you Juli Jalaluddin?" I said, "Yeah." "Oh, I follow you on Facebook." Like, keep doing what you do. Okay, fine. Oh, somebody fangirling me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think it's back then it was more you know closeted, but these days, but like like many, I know many people on Facebook, my friends, we have some Facebook groups or whatever. They have to be closeted because they're married, they have kids, and they live in that community. They, for work, so they don't have the luxury to be fully open about it. So, but whether you want to be open or not open about it, like whatever makes you, if you can live with it, that's fine.
Mm.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
not not everybody has to speak their mind all the time.
Yeah.
As long as depends whether you can live with it or not. So
Yeah. There definitely is a cost to doing this stuff.
yeah.
Next question, and then we'll try to end off on that. Nages sent a super chat. Thank you, Nages, and said, "Can you vision yourself setting up an international advocacy group for ex-Muslims in Malaysia?"
Oh my God, I don't know. I good, I guess. Like I said, I don't consider myself an activist. I just talk shit on the internet. That's all. I guess I should be. I mean, I do think that I'm in a position because I'm overseas.
Yeah.
So I'm in the position. I have the luxury to not be afraid and be more open about it. So I guess
Yeah, I feel like I do feel though, because I get asked questions like this a lot too, not exactly like that, but being involved in that sort of advocacy work or that sort of on the ground, political action and religious stuff is very different from speaking about like what I do a lot of talking on the internet. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily know how to do those things. So when people ask me, I prefer to leave that for people that are good at that. And what I'd rather do is use my platform to help people, to raise funds for them, or to bring awareness to that. Like ex-Muslims in North
Yeah,
America does this type of work, and they're doing a great job. So I support them rather
yeah,
than me trying to do everything and I'm not going to do a good job,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
focusing on,
and to me, speaking up in itself is a good thing because and then because I remember back then 20 years ago 30 years ago, I was like, I wish somebody would speak up for me. And me knowing about it, but I didn't know where to reach, who to reach, But these days, you hear somebody talk about it, say, oh, that's what I think, it's okay to have those thoughts, I don't have to feel so guilty anymore for having those thoughts, so even speaking up itself. So that's why I said, I can talk, I can write things, and people
yes,
can read, and then,
yeah,
that in itself is a big thing. And more and more, it's like being LGBT or whatever, people say, oh, you know, like, where do they come from? Back in my day, they're not so open about it. Yes, but they did exist back then. You just didn't know about it because they were more good at being closeted back then. They exist throughout history, until today. So we're not going away. We're still here. It's just whether you recognize our presence or not. So
exactly. And this is like an honorable thing to fight for. I mean, people sometimes wonder why do you talk about these things? Because this is basically giving people their lives back. I mean, I think it's obvious. This obvious. There's other things that matter in life. There's animal rights issues. There's environmental issues.
yeah,
There's political issues. There's LGBT. LGBT is kind of also covered by some of the stuff that we do, but because a lot of it is because of religious dogma.
yeah, yeah,
But this
yeah,
is basically giving people their lives back, giving people a chance to
yeah,
not, because when, like you said, when you leave Islam, you get gaslit, you get a lot of, bullying, you get people emotionally blackmailing you. So having people that are saying that you're not dumb, you're not, there's nothing wrong with you, this is okay to think like this, and this is your life. You want to be with a non-Muslim man, go ahead. Of course, Muslim men can be with non-Muslim women. So what's that about? Like, so
yeah,
yes, you should have the right to do what you want to do, to live your life the way you want to be. Sometimes people say like you are now a slave to your desires. I'd rather be a slave to my desires than to Muhammad's desires, right?
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't consider myself a slave to my desires. I consider myself as someone that is doing what is best for his own life. I prioritize myself obviously and my family, and everybody does that, to some extent,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
even if
yeah.
they
Being
say that,
being a little selfish is human nature. So you can be a little selfish, provided that you want to be selfish for humanity, for example, or you don't step on other people. Other than that, yeah, be a little
yeah.
selfish is fine.
Yeah, like we definitely want more people to be selfless, but sometimes being sometimes it feels good to do good. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with feeling good about helping people, about any of the stuff that we're doing, like I'm happy that I'm helping people. I'm really proud of that I'm having an impact and able to share people's stories like yourself, and I want to keep doing it. So
oh, I want
this is
I want to tell you another one little story. So after when I was in Norway and I got dogs, I was in the tabloid newspaper. So Norway is 6 hours behind Malaysia, right? So there was things were. So when I got, I was in the newspaper, and then it appeared on TV as well. They mentioned my name on TV, and then other people talked about me, and there was like somebody talked about, oh, she's dying, she's in a hospital, and there's a picture of somebody on a hospital bed with all the machines, right? And Norway is 6 hours behind, so people were texting me, "Are you okay? Are you in the hospital?" And I was like, I woke up like, what? No, I'm alive. I'm alive and well, not in hell yet. They were saying, "Oh, she's in hell, whatever, death
So what
door."
happened? Was that just a lie or was it
Yeah,
misinformation?
somebody just created a blog, took somebody's picture somewhere. So I, at that by that time, I thought it was kind of hilarious. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, but I was still kind of like in between. I left Malaysia, went to Norway, and it didn't really work out. Norway is a very introverted country, like not like America. So I
Yeah.
felt like, after a couple of years, I had to leave. I was becoming still depressed. I left it all behind, but the depression didn't really leave me yet. I was still, in between.
Mm.
So anyway, and at that time, after that was in 2014. So there was a bigger exposure from before. So, and then people were making police reports against me. So they were like, I saw some video on YouTube, like people taking pictures. Oh, these are the police report against this girl, Juli Jalaluddin, for saying bad things about Islam on the internet, whatever. Like so many. And then like there was like a press conference with the police, but it was for something else. But they asked, so what are you gonna do about this person who say these things on the internet about Islam? And then the guy said, "Oh, we understand that she is currently overseas, and we will investigate accordingly." Just a standard response. I don't think they were going to do anything, but I do sincerely believe that if I was in Malaysia at that time, they would take me in, slap me around a little bit, take my phone away, take my computer away, just to teach me a bit of a lesson. Like nobody will kill me. We're not like those people in Pakistan or Bangladesh or Saudi. But I do believe that they would do something just to make your life a little bit harder, so you would lay low for a while. So
Did you get, another question was, did you get any death threats?
On the internet all the time. I mean, these days because I kept ignoring them, So,
Yeah.
but back then, yeah. When I was in Norway, this guy was like, "I'm gonna come look for you and kill you." So I posted a picture of my house and I give my address. Okay, I'm waiting. I know. I mean, he couldn't afford a flight to Norway. So yeah, like it's always like death threats, rape threats, But this, I just ignore them, and these days, no more. But I'm also getting less and less controversial these days. So
Yeah. I find the same thing with me too. When I first came out, I think, you know what I think? I think that this is a tactic used that people try, and eventually they just give up because they realize it doesn't work.
yeah, it's scare tactic. They just want you to come back, and then when that doesn't, first say, "Oh, we just want you to come back to Islam." Nope. Darah murtad halal dibunuh, which means the blood of apostate can be shed. That they teach you that even as a child. So that you can be killed for being a murtad. Oh yeah.
Wow.
We can kill you for this. Nope. Still a murtad. Like, okay, we can rape you. Nope. And then they just gave up eventually, I guess. So
Yeah, same thing happened to me. And I mean, the doxing is a real issue. Like, that's not just online threats. Online threats are online. I don't consider online threats to be credible unless they're credible. Like, if someone said, "You live here," and this guy's in Canada, I would immediately go to the police. I would immediately
yeah.
But like, if it's like online, those are like easy. Anyone can do that. It doesn't cost anything, and there's no staking. If someone's staking it, meaning they come to me in real life or something, then that's a different story. Real life doxing, though, like what happened to you, the real harassment, that's real. That's you suffered for that.
Yeah, I've never not in real life, and when I was in Malaysia, because I know I was leaving, and but still I was being careful not to disclose my locations, and I was staying in apartment with guards, and
Oh, okay.
so yeah. But yes, I was afraid of it, but it never really amounted to that. And when I was overseas, most of these threats are online and coming from Malaysia, so I didn't really pay attention to it. But
Yeah.
yes, you're right. If it was somebody in the same state as I am, that would be different. Yeah.
Yeah. So the same thing with me. Like I don't think I'm trying to think, do I even get death threats anymore? I think randomly I do. I don't even care. Like I'm just like whatever.
Yeah. Before you stop caring.
But what does affect me and affected you is the doxing thing is real because I don't want people to know where I live. As also being I was called my company was called, so I work as a software developer. The company that I work at was called up and stuff. So that's a real harassment in real life. Now I work at a different company and nobody knows where I work, which is good. I'm not going to tell anybody, so that'll be safe for now. Um, it's definitely a real risk to being online, and even if you don't call yourself an activist, you are an activist because you did these things and you were trying to help people, and by doing that you're automatically an activist and you're automatically
Okay.
at threat of being doxxed, of being
Uh,
harassed, of being canceled.
yeah.
And the more
Yeah.
popular you get, the more risk is involved, because the thing is this: when you're a small person, when you're a small fish, not that many people know you, but as you get bigger, the chances of crazy
Yeah.
people finding you,
Uh-huh.
and what happens with the crazy people is they're like psychopaths. They will not psychopaths, but these
Yeah.
crazy people, they will attach themselves to you and they will continue doing it because they're mentally unstable.
Yeah.
And as you get bigger and bigger, you get more of these like little sticklers. They stick on you and they won't leave you alone. Right. And one of those people is one of the people that got involved and called my company and wanted to dox me and whatever. But as you get bigger, you get more of these crazy people,
Mm,
right? Unfortunately, they
mm,
exist in all
yeah.
populations.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
anyways,
But
yeah, it is.
I,
Yeah,
but I do believe that Malaysians, the Asians, they are not like the Muslims in the Middle East.
yeah,
Oh,
they're more
you know,
softer.
this yeah, they talk like that. Oh, we want to come, and but I don't think they have the heart to actually do it. Like they were talking about in implementing Hudood in
Yeah,
Malaysia. We don't have Hudood. We have Sharia Court, but we don't. They only handle like things like marriage and um, like property settlement, but not criminal cases. So like they were talking about, like, my state wanted to implement Hudud, and so like if you steal, you get your hand cut off, right? um uh and then they were talking about, oh, we want to implement Hudud, we gotta talk to doctors and surgeons to do it for us, so then when somebody steals something, they're gonna cut it nicely. Like, are you crazy? If you don't have the courage to pick up the sword and cut it off yourself, then stop talking about it. Like, I can't do it, so I wouldn't want to do it. Even if somebody stole something, I don't want to cut off somebody's hands. You
yeah.
know. So to me, like that, things like that make me believe that Asians, they are softer people. They may talk about it, but they don't really mean it.
Mm.
Like, so I'm not really scared because of that.
And Fatally Honest is asking, does Aceh have hudud? I don't know if I said the name right.
I don't know about cutting off hands, but I saw
There's like
some.
I think there's a caning or
What?
something, right? Caning
Yeah,
adultery.
they do have some caning, and like
Yeah,
arresting women for dressing immodestly. Aceh is in Indonesia, right?
yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah,
okay. I'm not
it's
familiar.
so Malaysia is here,
Okay,
Indonesia, this Sumatra, the island, and it's in the north part. It's kind of
okay.
like to me, like it's like a sister state to my home state. They like compete with each other.
Ah,
Yeah, but they have caning.
okay.
They I think at one time they wanted to get independence from Malaysia, and they wanted to have like a separate, governing, and then there were wars or
Oh my
something,
god.
yeah, between them and the rest of Indonesia. And so like Indonesia, well, they are a part of Indonesia, but Jakarta, like, let them do their own thing, let them have a little you know, um, to do what they want, so that to prevent any more wars from happening. So
Hmm. Yeah. Well, okay. I want to thank you, Julie. This has been great
okay,
conversation. A lot of people were looking forward to this, and I didn't mention in the beginning, but I've known you on Facebook for many, many years now. I think I ran into you when I first left Islam back in 2015, 2016, and I've followed you. I found a like-minded soul. I was happy
yeah,
to
yeah.
get in touch with you, and I'm glad that we finally got time to sit down and actually have this conversation for people to hear
Yeah,
your
I think
story, because
yeah, I think when I first added you on Facebook, or you added me, I forgot. But at that time, you just kind of like left Islam only like 1 or 2 years or something.
yeah.
So it's and then seeing you now that you have a podcast, and very, like your name is up there with the other murtads talking about it. Whatever.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm happy. Like I said, I'm happy to keep doing this. I think it's very important that these stories keep coming out. We are dealing with, we're fighting a totalitarian system that tells people that their lives are for Allah, the hereafter
Mhm.
is for Allah, and whatever they spend is going to go to this giant paradise or whatever. It's going to be rewarded. So we have an uphill battle, right? And I do believe that many people, because they're born into Islam, by default we have an uphill battle. We need to
Yeah.
go against something that has been in them since childhood, right? Not everyone's questioning individual, not everyone has the skeptic mind to be able to really find their way out of this. So it's a difficult journey, and if we want the world to be a better place, we want people to continue to have the right to live whatever religion they want to marry whatever they want, whoever they want to, or to live with without marriage, or those, that life that we have is so precious, and everyone should be in charge of their own life. So it's something important, and you've made a great impact. You started many years before, when the risks were much higher, and
Yeah.
in Malaysia where
I,
the risks are much higher.
I want to add one more thing before I forget. Make it quick.
Yep.
In Malaysia, we have, like I mentioned, we have the civil law and we have the Sharia law. So Islam does have a lot of influence on politics, even though
Hmm.
it's because we have 60% Muslim and the rest are non-Muslims,
Yeah.
and the Sharia court in Malaysia is only take care of things like marriages and property, division. Um, but technically, we who are people who are born Muslim like me, we cannot leave Islam. It's you can try. They say, oh, okay, you can fill up the form and submit it, and then like years later, after you've lost money to pay for lawyers, whatever. Like people have tried and they got rejected. And so what they do is that they just leave the country, like I do. So and but another thing is, sometimes like non-Muslims, they want to marry Muslim, so they converted to Islam. So but then it didn't work out, and then they want to leave Islam. For them, they have a chance to leave, but still it would take years and it would take lots of money but eventually they will be allowed to leave Islam. But there's also a problem like custody battle, alimony, like because they converted to Islam and married this Muslim guy who's not so, a nice person, and then they leave, and then it's so hard for them as a non-Muslim uh, to get, like to fight custody, alimony at the Sharia court when,
Mhm.
there are this kind of problem. And also, like, especially for women, I've heard lots and lots of stories about these Muslim women who want to get a divorce in Malaysia. They have to go to Sharia court, and for men, if they want a divorce, they just say the words, I divorce you. And then you
Yes.
go to the court, and the court will like, okay, you said it, sign, and then you're divorced. But for Muslim women, if the men don't want to divorce them, they have to go to court for years, and then they will say, okay, go to counseling first, and then 10 years later, it still haven't been settled. So I've heard lots of stories about that. So it's very unfair system to many people. So
That's a good point. We didn't
yeah,
talk about that, but
yeah,
the Sharia law courts, if you were talking about something else and you said apartheid system, it's kind of like an apartheid system. If you're
yeah,
giving
kind of,
non-Muslims
yeah,
and Muslims different
yeah,
rights, especially women and men even have different rights in Islam.
yeah.
And it's unfortunate that, hopefully we will get, as time goes by,
Yeah.
Malaysia will get more in line with the secular system, a system that gives everyone the rights, no matter what the religion, no matter what the gender, even, right? So that would
Yeah.
be for the best.
There was a case. This Indian lady, he got married to a Muslim guy, and then like the guy ran away with their kid, like a baby, and now the kid is like 10 years old or something,
Mhm.
or maybe older, and she couldn't see the girl, and she went to court, and even though the I forgot, like civil court awarded custody for her, but then the guy just took the kid away, and then Sharia court tends to side with the Muslims. So
Oh,
there's a
so
lot of cases like that. So
yeah, yeah. So again, thank you so much, Julie. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I appreciate all that you've done for ex-Muslims and for human rights and secular rights, democracy, all of that. For everyone that's watching, thank you to the moderators who kept the chat clean and were keeping the conversation flowing. Thank you to everyone that joined today, to the whole friendly ex-Muslim family. I appreciate all you guys. If you'd like to support the channel, do consider joining. You can either join on YouTube below, or you can join on Patreon. Giving a small monthly donation helps me to eventually do this full time, which is a goal. At the moment, I do have to work. Unfortunately, I need to limit the time on this project to what it is. But I do think that at some point I'd love to do this full time. So if you can contribute a small amount monthly, it would be appreciated. If not, that's okay as well. Leave a thumbs up below, give 5-star review on iTunes. All of that helps. And check out Julie's blog. Her story is amazing. If you want to read more about her. She's not that active right now. Any last words from you, Julie?
some people asked me if they could ask questions or whatever. I said I
Yes.
wasn't sure about the format of the podcast or
Yeah.
whatever. But you're going to upload this video on YouTube, right?
Yes, it's going to be uploaded on YouTube at the same link, and as well, it will
Okay.
also be available on the podcast. So if anyone wants to listen to it on, without having to actually have the phone open or whatever, you can actually download the podcast by searching for Friendly Ex-Muslim Podcast on any podcast app.
Okay. I will post whatever on my wall, and all I wanted to say was because some people say they want to ask questions, and then I'll try to read the comments and give some answers. If,
Awesome. Yes,
I'll do
yes.
that. So
And
A
maybe at
for
some point,
100 thumbs up. Yeah.
yeah. Maybe we will do another one. Someone mentioned in the chat that we should get a bunch of you guys Malaysian ex-Muslims together. So you, Fatally Honest, I mentioned to you Omera. So there's quite a few of you now I've interviewed. We
Yeah,
can get all of you
yeah,
guys
more and
together and
more
talk about
people
them.
are being open about that's what I want. Yeah,
Yeah.
what would they say? Standing on the shoulder of giants,
Yeah.
whatever. So people before me, now other people, So
Yes, yes,
good.
exactly. All right, so don't
Yeah.
don't hang up just yet, and I'm gonna end the
Oh,
broadcast. To everyone else, we'll see you at the next live stream, which is going to be tomorrow night, the Epileptic Prophet Part 2. We'll see you then, and thank you, Julie. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.
thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Absolutely, it's been wonderful.
All right. All right.